Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm Old Deadman, your host. We're going to go straight into the dev server here. Now, you'll have to bear with me a little bit. My whole streaming software is all kind of screwed up right now because I've got it all set up for a totally different set of content than what I'm doing right now. So you may see some weird mistakes or errors or some unusual things happen. If you happen to see Reagan talking about something or other, you'll know that I've managed to get my software all screwed up yet again. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump straight into the dev server itself and start going through things. Now, right before this stream, the forum went down for some updates. So I was kind of looking at the dev server's patch notes, and of course it died right in the middle of it. So we're going to be doing some things a little bit by gosh and by golly, a little bit catch as catch can. And now that I've done a whole bunch of old manisms there, let's go ahead and get right into it. This is the dev server. Nothing unusual or different as far as the initial looks at it can go, but let's go ahead and start with the most interesting thing going on in the dev server today. And that is this test for the medium range active radar homing missiles. Good morning, Al. Glad to have you on board. Just excited to kind of be checking things out on the dev server and see how they go. As I said, it's going to be a little bit kind of catch as catch can this morning just because of how things lined up. But glad to have you here. Absolutely. So we're going to start with this test of the medium range missiles. If you get onto the dev server and you jump onto one of the requisite countries with a plane of at least rank 6, you'll be put into the test vehicle for that nation. The recollection I have is there's 5 nations that are allowed. Yeah, don't need that back up there. Yeah, that's a problem with a lot of this stuff here is that I'm trying to, like I said, put it together real fast. Okay. Okay, so this is the Fox 3 or active radar homing missile test that they're doing on the server here. Let's go ahead and give myself a little bit more than 12 minutes. Let's go for 20. They do have the customizable quantity now, so you can use a slider. That's pretty cool, you know. I'm going to do 24 minutes, and boop. And now I'm in an F-16C. Now, the nations are allowing to do this test on the dev server. By the way, active radar homing missiles are not expected to come in this patch. This is just a test for the mechanics. So, let me see. The F-16C, the MiG-29 SMT with R-77s, the JAS-39C, the J-8F, and the Mirage 2005F, and the Barak 2. So that's going to catch most of the major nations there. I'm seeing, of course, the U.S., Russia, Sweden, China, France, and Israel. I don't know that there's SMTs in the other ones as well, but I don't remember that for sure. So I'd have to look at the tech trees. But these are the AMRAAM missiles that we're messing with right here. Once we can get a radar lock, we can launch one. Though so far I've only managed to get a kill at about the 8-kilometer range. I have launched all the way at 30-some kilometers, but don't expect to get kills at 30-some kilometers. Oh yeah, burning that fuel. Look at those wings flutter. Whew. Mach 1.25. Put myself down on the ground here. Okay. 30 kilometers, unlikely to actually do anything. But I'll mess with it. I'll do the launch. In theory, And we got incoming missile. Fire again. And drop some countermeasures. Now I'm going to go whip it up and over. Ooh! I just managed to hit a MiG-29 with one of those missiles. Ha ha! Critted him too. I'll take the assist. I will absolutely take the assist. Whoops. Okay. R. Come on. Give me something here. Come on. R.
Air brake on.
Yeah, I know. I turned it on purpose.
AOA.
Okay, seeker on. Come on. Give me that seeker on. There we go. Seeker's on finally. It's locked, but I can't do anything until... Come on. Give me the seeker on. The seekers turning on seem to be a little bit challenging. There. No. Okay. No. Dang it. Come on. Give me something here. Okay. So that's kind of the semi-active radar homing. I was shocked to get a hit at around 20 kilometers, 16 kilometers. They're a little bit more difficult to use than you might expect, but hey, you know, it's an interesting ad, and I don't know that it's going to be unbalanced as long as you're paying attention. That said, if you're not paying attention, you're going to have a lot harder time, especially at these top tiers. Of course, most of us don't really play that much of the top tiers, including me. I do every once in a while. So that's the active radar homing missile test. They're thinking maybe 2 patches from now they'll be able to add it once they kind of get the results of these tests together, and we'll move forward from there. Now let's go ahead and jump into the patch notes for the patch itself, because I think the website's finally back up. And dev server, change log, and of course they do it in a specific format here. They're going to start with the aircraft, so we'll start with the aircraft. And on the US side, they've got the first ever absolute top rank premium vehicle, the F-20A Tiger Shark. It's a rank 8 battle rating 12.0 vehicle that is premium. So basically you can buy your way right up to top tier entirely. No stops in the meantime. This is a change of policy for War Thunder and Gaijin in specific. That is a... I don't agree with it. It's hard enough getting up into those upper tiers to then add in a bunch of people who possibly don't know how to fly and haven't had some experience in War Thunder. That's going to be a challenge there, and I think that it's a mistake to do so. However, it is what it is, and I can't imagine they're going back on it because they've already put it into the pre-order state. So this is the F-20 Tiger Shark. I believe it was built, and I'm going from memory here, I believe it was built to utilize parts, or at least design, from the F-5 to make it faster and cheaper to assemble. It's a lightweight, fast fighter. Let's see what kind of secondaries it can carry. AIM-9Ls, AIM-7Fs, so it should be pretty effective. Bombs, rockets, and AGMs. So a good ground loadout as well, and it'll probably be a really good turning piece of equipment. Now, I'm going to take it out with a vaguely realistic-ish loadout of some bombs here. Take the 750s. No, let's take the 1,000 pounders. Since I can't customize it here, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I can. All the countermeasure options and things like that. We're going to do fuel of about... Wow, this thing does not carry much fuel. 24 minutes. That'll be plenty for what we're doing here. Let's go ahead and bring the F-20A in and get it rolling. Very quick off the start. No flaps, and I'm taking off at 330 kilometers per hour. You're up. very responsive feeling. Roll rate's decent, but not as robust as you might expect with bombs on board. Understanding that, yeah, yes, I am carrying bombs because I'm a dork. Okay, with only one bomb on, let's check it. Okay, roll rate does improve. I'll get this rolled around, get the last one off, and see if we can compare. Even with this, yeah, that's pretty responsive. Even with bombs on, it's still pretty darn responsive. Ooh, that pull-up is nice. 11G, 12G. Lost control, of course, pilot. And let's see how it feels now. Oh yeah, that is a good roll rate there. That will be quite effective. Countering the roll takes a little bit longer than you might expect, but not bad at all. This is going to be a very effective plane, even at top tier. Now, you do have some countermeasures, but not a lot. I think it's around 25. So keep that in mind, that you might find yourself in a bad situation in an extended combat session with virtually no countermeasures. But if you're like many players, you don't remember they're there half the time anyway. So roll around, and 1, 2, 3. Ouch, I just damaged my wing with my own bomb. Keep that in mind. But yeah, very responsive, and it should do well at top tier. Obviously not as good as others, but it's got all the goodies and stuff you need. Let's go ahead and put this into the dirt. Well, no, let's try and land it with a busted wing. It's definitely not as responsive since I had a, shall we say, a flight error. Just got to bring it around. Come on. Okay, yeah, this feels like the flight model might be a little bit warped because it is, even with this minor damage to the wing, it's actually inverted the rudder response. So keep that in mind. If this stays into the final model, landing this thing with any precision is going to be a challenge. Okay, air brakes. Gear. Landing flaps. There's no way I'll be stopped before the end of the runway, but I'm about to belly... Yike! Ah! Yeah, belly flop pretty hard. Oh my heavens. Yeah, that was definitely a belly flop there. So that's the F-20 Tiger Shark. Let's go and take a look at the specs as the game shows it right now. Pop that out. 2,200 kilometers per hour is your top speed. Again, it's fast, it's agile, and it should do a good job, especially in the meta of War Thunder. Yes. At least it didn't give me the Betty that was telling me to pull up there. So I appreciate that little bit of not chewing me out for what I knew was going to happen. 22-second turn time, not unusual for a jet. Feels a little bit off. Feels like it should be a little bit faster than that, but not necessarily just because of the nature of jets. Rate of climb, that might be a placeholder figure, but overall, again, everything looks like it's in pretty good shape, though I think the flight model may need some more refinement. That's the F-20A. By the way, as you know, if you have any questions, absolutely pipe in, let me know. I'm just going to review things until people ask questions, then I'll pop back and work those questions as we go. So that's the plane for the U.S. Dagnabbit. Where's those patch notes again? This thing likes to... Oh, let me see. There we go. That should prevent it from doing that again. Okay. Germany's getting 2 aircraft, so let's go ahead and move over to Germany. The first one is a BF-109, so it's the first real World War II something or other coming in. Let's see, it does not appear to be here. BF-109C1. There it is. It's in rank 1. Wow, a rank 1 109. So, yeah, hold on to your hats, guys. Let's go on in and take a look. All right, the 109C1. Definitely the classic. Wow, that cockpit closes quick. All right, for a prop, definitely not getting off the runway very quick. This is having a non-biplane at these low tiers. That's not also faster significantly than the biplanes. Is more of a challenge, so keep that in mind. That said, acceleration's decent for a 1.7 BR plane. I didn't bring any bombs. I don't think it can carry any. Those feel like all 30s. We'll check what the armaments are in a moment. Okay, and oh yeah, definitely not feeling the responsiveness on the low end of the speed here. Okay, roll rate is poor, and of course you're subject to fuel starvation when the engine rolls over. I've thought that even the early 109s had a fuel injection system, but you know, I don't remember for sure. So if this flight model stays as is, it should be fine at BR 1.7. Don't get into any kind of a turn fight with a biplane. You're definitely not going to win that. Still, it's decent turn time. It feels like the flaps actually make your turn time a little bit worse instead of improving it. You'll have to see what that does in your actual experience in the game. Now, I think it's going to be a speed-dependent thing, though, because now it feels like it is. Full WEP and some flaps. And doesn't feel too bad. Yeah, those all look like 30 cals, although confirm that in just a moment. Yeah, I'd say it's fine for BR 1.7. Okay, so let's go and return to hangar and take a look at the specs here. Okay, so 449 kilometers per hour. Of course, this is stock. 20.9 second turn time, so yeah, not as good as some of the others. Everything else looks about right. Again, the flight model might be a little bit not ready yet, but overall you're looking at just 30 caliber machine guns, 4 of them, and that's it. I mean, it's just a plane. It's at 1.7, so you're not going to be using it to grind out your battle pass tasks. You're not going to be using it for any events or anything like that. The only reason you'd use it is if you're either starting out in the Germany tree, or if you're otherwise just down there to do a little bit of trolling for a while. I mean, really. So that's the BF-109C1. The other thing that Germany is getting is an Alpha Jet A, and my tree is literally just behind where I could actually test fly this. So let's just go ahead and take a look at it. Alpha Jet A. Okay, why does that number seem awfully low for the top speed? Let's take a look here. Alpha Jet. Light attack jet and advanced jet trainer. Okay, okay, I can get on board with that. Alpha Jet. Let's see what its published top speed is. Specifications. It's got 2 Snecma Turbo Mecha Larzak 04C5 turbofan engines. 1,000 kilometers per hour. So, yeah, that's pretty much right there. .6 turn time, not a surprise. Everything else seems like it's relatively okay. Let's look at its various ordnance options here. Drop tanks, snake eyes, regular cannons, and some and a 27 millimeter Mauser, apparently. Regular bombs, 500 pound bombs, yeah. Some incendiary bombs, there we go. And some Mighty Mouse rockets. Feels like this might still have some things that it might be getting here. Let's see. Armament, guns, 1 27 millimeter Mauser on the centerline gun pack. 5 hard points that could carry Matra rockets. Sidewinders. This is, which version is this? This is the Alpha Jet under general characteristics. So this could be a different model of the Alpha Jet. Let me see if they've got some information on exact models here. Development design, variants. There we go. Alpha Jet A, attack version originally used by Germany. E is a trainer. E2 is a optimized for ground attack. Okay, so it doesn't specify whether each individual one would get these, but there's a potential for AIM-9 Sidewinders on this Matra Magics or AGM 65s. So there could be more ordnance options hitting here. I don't know what they're going to add. And at a BR of 9.0, they've got the full option list. They could certainly put some early AIM-9 Sidewinders on it and the like, and certainly would not be any worse off for it. So that's the Alpha Jet A. Let's go ahead and move on to Russia and see what they've got coming, which is just the Su-25 CM3. Or, it says CM3, but it says SM3 here. So take that with a grain of salt in either direction you want to go. Let's go ahead and preview this thing. The Su-25 is already pretty familiar, so you should get no real surprises here. The top speed's about right, turn time's about right, rate of climb's about right. We're not going to get any real big surprises on a Su-25. Got some R-73s, otherwise just kind of what you expect to have. Ordnance loadouts, and I think there was something special about the SM3. I think it got a targeting pod maybe or something like that, and a few other odds and ends. Overall, Su-25. It's at 11.7, which puts it where? Not much above the Su-25, which should be pretty similar, or the Su-25, sorry, the Su-25T, or the Su-25, which is, about where you'd expect it for. So, should be a fine addition. I don't think it's going to be a big game changer. Britain does not get any planes this patch so far. Japan gets a unique detailed cockpit added, which, let's see, we'll take a look at it. The F-15J. If we can, let's preview that. I don't know that we can be able to get a good look inside the cockpit here. Okay, so there's just a model update there. Nothing special. Then we get to Italy. China doesn't get anything, but we get to Italy, and Italy gets a Hungary subtree. Hungarian aircraft will include, and most of these are familiar, so we're not even going to do much more than a touch on each. We have a Yak 9P, a Tu-2S59, an IL-28, which doesn't have its own image, MiG-15, same thing, MiG-17 PF. Again, you should be pretty familiar with all these things so far. Su-22 M3, a MiG-21, a MiG-23 MF, MiG-29, and this would be the only thing unusual, the JAS-39 EBS HUC Gripen. So this would be the one that's interesting enough to take at least a preview of. And those numbers seem about right for this vehicle. 2134 kilometers per hour, 24.1 second turn time. And the ordnance options would be, well, if I go hit secondary weapons, I'll get that better. Flares, chaff, AIM-9 M's and L's, Sky Flash, lightning pods, 8 snake eye bombs, paveway bombs. Let's see. Yep. AGM-65Gs and flares and chaff. Looks like the countermeasures, though, are externally mounted. You can double them up with a Sidewinder, but you'll need to kind of plot out your overall ordnance plan in order to be able to get that. Yes, there are new things in the German tree. I'll take a quick hop back there to take a look right after we finish with this, which won't take long because this is the JAS-39. It's going into the Italian tree and becomes the end of the line for that part of the tree at 12.7. So they're definitely moving some of these trees up to 12.7 as they do. Now, Germany does have 2 aircraft coming. I've not gotten to the ground just yet. The Alpha Jet right here at battle rating 9.0 with a reasonable mix of loadout options, about 1,000 kilometers per hour top speed. Should be fine for 9.0. They also get these rank 1 BR 1.7 BF 109, which is not particularly unique for 1.7. So the Alpha Jet looks interesting and fun. I'll be looking forward to it. This one at rank 1 will probably never even touch. I skipped over Great Britain, didn't I? Great Britain does get something for their tree, and that is a Buccaneer S2B, which if you're already familiar with the Buccaneer from the S1 and S2s, you'll know that this thing's basically a ground attack vehicle. This one does add, however, some AIM-9Gs and AIM-9Ls and some additional air-to-ground missile options that you don't get in the S1. I think it might be faster. Let me kind of take a quick look at the S2. About the same speed. I mean, really, honestly. But the better air-to-air missiles will make a huge difference for the Buccaneer S2B, at least giving you something to fire at enemy aircraft that'll actually have a pretty decent chance of impacting. And we're not even going to compare it to the S1, which is at 8.7 over-tiered and under-effective. So the S2B should be fun and interesting. Not sure that they will... I'm not sure it's going to be a big change to the tree. But like I said, a Buccaneer with some AIM-9Ls and Gs will make a big difference to the Buccaneer line. Let's see. So we've got go over to France, which gets the Alpha Jet E, which we already kind of discussed pretty much in the... there we go. There it is. Which we already pretty much discussed when we talked about it in Germany. not a lot of differences here. You know, there nothing that's going to be a big change in how it plays in the game. 9.0 should be fun. Now, Israel gets the BAWs, but it gets, no, never mind. It gets a unique cockpit added for the BAWs. So no big changes to Israel for the air. Now, for helicopters, let's go ahead and pop back to the U.S. We have the AH-1W. Now, there's some new cockpits for the AH-64s, but check this out if it hasn't been patched. Ooh, they finally got the camo in. When I checked this yesterday, there was still no camo on this aircraft, and therefore it was literally just this kind of a solid white color with no model on it. But there's the AH-1W. It'll be carrying some BGM-71D TOW missiles, some Hellfire missiles, cannon pods, rocket pods, and some AIM-9Ls, which will be extremely useful for getting those airplanes off your back, or front in this case. 10.7 BR. You're going to have to make the most use of those TOW missiles at as much range as you can. Otherwise, you're pretty much going to be out of luck, because at 10.7, any of the available SPAs should be able to knock you out pretty darn easy. Britain gets the Wessex HU Mark V, which, as you can see, I've done nothing about my British helicopter tree. So the HU Mark V, we already had a dev blog on this one. It's basically a meant for insertion of special forces type guys, but it also can be used for medevac and a few other purposes. Obviously, things that don't have a lick of difference to the game. But overall, you've got a pretty cool little helicopter that doesn't move that particularly fast, but it does have the RP-28 rockets, the AS-12 missiles, and the AS-11 missiles for the different firing ranges and capabilities. The AS-12s will be great for taking out SPAA at as much range as you can, and you can move closer to take out some tanks with the AS-11s. The reality is you're just going to have to deal either way with the targets at hand. I don't see any indications of like a gun or gun pod, so this thing's going to be pretty darn vulnerable. You know, I see some. What are those things? Let's go take a look at the modifications here. You do get a couple of 7.7 millimeter Brownings. Good luck protecting yourself against the jets at 9.0 with those, but you know what? If you're a better aim than I am and you can put enough of those into the cockpit of an oncoming fighter, you got yourself a good situation you can take them out. The China tree, let's move on to China here, gets an AH-1W as well. No, let me see if there's got any difference in the secondaries here. Pretty much identical at this point in time, but I expect that'll change at least some before the final release. FYI. Israel gets an AH-60. It'll be one of their top helicopters. Those things look beefy. I mean, honestly, they look mean. And those will be carrying things like the Hellfires, the Spike ERs, the Gator missiles, let me see, what else have they got? ATAS or AIM-92 missiles. Pretty slick. So an 11-kilometer lock-in rear aspect, 6-kilometer all aspect. That's enough range for you to put a missile up an airplane coming at you. So that's pretty good. That'll work pretty well for the Israeli tree at BR 10.7. Again, though, you can't get too close because SPAs at this BR will knock you out of the sky in a heartbeat. Now we move to the ground vehicles, which will probably be what most people are excited about. Oops, wrong direction. For the U.S., we get this 120S. Let's see if we can find it here. Here it is, over here at rank 10.0. Let's go ahead and test drive this thing. My understanding is it doesn't have a stabilizer, but let's take a look at what it actually comes up with. Okay, it does have a stabilizer. Okay, so that's right. We got the M60 hull that's been modified significantly with the Abrams turret and the 120 millimeter gun. This is a significant up gun for an M60, but, and it does move along pretty decent. Is it going to be an amazing addition? It depends on how you play it. If you can mostly stay with hold down situation there, you can probably take out some targets pretty well, but the M60 hull is not going to be all that that's cracked up. It's basically a slower, less maneuverable Abrams, but at 10.0, I think it'll do pretty decent. Yeah, it's just moving right along here. Have a steady 41 kilometers per hour. So overall, not bad, not bad. I'd aim into that, Al. I mean, the sound, honestly, yeah. I hope the M60 never sounded like that. Because it really does not sound good. Yeah. In fact, I'd be taking that to the maintenance depot and be saying like, hey, what in the world did you leave in my transmission? So the stabilizer and a top speed that does not seem to get out of stabilizer range, you could be moving along a pretty good clip and still taking shots that impact and kill. This thing doesn't get up to much more than a pretty good clip, so you're not going to be missing out anything by going flat out and taking those shots on the fly. The reload rate is actually really good. Let's see. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1000. About 7 seconds. I mean, you could really rip out some ammunition even on a stock crew at a 7-second reload, even at 10, especially at 10.0. What's this layout look like here? I mean, pretty decent. I would hate to be that driver sitting between 2 racks of ammo. One of those goes up and there won't be enough of you left to scrape out of the driver's seat. No, it does not sound healthy at all, Joe. Not at all. Okay, so here we go. Oh, I managed to pop that that right into the turret ring. This is the 120S. It's an M60 chassis with an Abrams turret. It was a one-off prototype, as I recall, where they basically reworked an M60 chassis to give it a profile, this profile, because the M60 didn't have this profile, and put an Abrams turret on it, and to see if they could improve the effectiveness of M60s if they needed to. The end result never went much anywhere. Could buy a gun, mainly because the U.S. cranks out Abrams at a nice steady clip, and they were not having to bring out M60s or deal with any targets that the M60s couldn't handle if they did. So that is the 120S. Now there is an important aspect we need to double check on the on this tank. And if you've watched these streams, no, this is not a premium. This is a tech tree vehicle. It feels like something that would have been made a great event vehicle, though. Not so much a premium, but a good event vehicle. That said, you know what? It's not bad. It's not bad. If you're like me and you like rushing all over the battlefield, you're probably not going to be too excited for the speed, which is decent, but a little pokey. Okay, so now that we've had our fun, let's go find out the most important thing at all. In this case, the most important thing of all is, of course, will it float? And the answer is no. The 120S will not float. Bye, 120S. Yeah, that's its whole purpose in the end, was like, we can upgrade your M60s with this weird package. But nobody was like, was jumping up and down for it. So that is the 120S. Let's go and take a look at the BR and things like that. 10.0 and rank 7. So it's pretty decently placed. I mean, you could get a lineup with the Bradley, the LAVAD, and the M1128 with the 120S. This gives you your heavy without having to bump up to 10.3. Let's look at what kind of ammunition it can get. Got the M830 as a stock, the 829 with 491 mils a pin, and the 829A1 with 598. So at 10.0, absolutely going to be effective. It's going to be good for the BR. It's going to be probably more effective than some of the other options, like the 1128 is going to be outclassed by a 120S. But would I say it's better than an M3A3 Bradley with its tow missiles? Probably not. I would say that the tow missiles will beat the 120. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. Other possible good things to add to your lineup, if you have it, would be the XM8 at 9.7. And of course, if you've got an MBT70 at 9.3, that will up tier quite nicely, and you can have some fun with that. If you're getting the M1 KVT, you might as well run an Abrams lineup anyway, and this then becomes less important. But keeping it below 10.0 has some advantages, and I think that's probably where it's going to shine. So that's the 120S. I don't think they have any other vehicles coming right now. Yep, okay. Germany's getting a weird SPAA in the form of the Justoller 45. Let's go ahead and preview this thing real fast. As I recall, you actually have to have a modification to put the side skirts up. And that just feels like something that should come stock with a vehicle. But let's go ahead and take a look at the modifications. We've got the, side skirts up as a separate modification, which seems kind of silly. But for ammunition, though, you've got 58 millimeters of pin, a variety of and a 77 millimeter AP HVAP. So you can really, at 6.0, you can pretty much chew up most light, in fact, all light tanks, most mediums, and an awful lot of heavies with this, especially if you can get around the back. At 77 mils, though, you're going to struggle with some of the heavy tanks on the side. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and give it a test drive. All right, let's see. Okay, of course it would have the side skirts up, even though I don't have that modification installed. Good fire rate, so that much is good. And this is the default ammunition dump. It's basically a Whirlwind on a slightly different chassis. It's got a, if I remember, a little bit better pin, but I'll have to double check that. Yeah, M18s are going to hate this thing. Of course, M18s hate pretty much all SBA. Okay, you can see I went through the turret range to kill the gunner on that T-34. So it's absolutely possible to kill even a medium tank like a T-34 frontally with this thing. Now, if we really want to get the kill finished, we're going to have to come to the side. Turret rotation is decent, but not amazing. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not dead yet, are you? So overall, for an SBA with the sides down, you're vulnerable to everything, every kind of fire. But with the sides up, you're still vulnerable to everything, and you have less traverse to be able to take on, tank targets. So most people are probably going to run it with the side skirts down. Okay. Yeah, I took out the track, but I was not able to penetrate anything more on that. This is where you start having some trouble. So let's go ahead and run around the back. Can I catch him on fire and kill his engine? You can kill his engine. Okay, so far I've not been able to score a lethal, at least a significant penetrating hit beyond the engine. And it's not even catching fire. Up there's the fuel tank. There we go. So now we've got a fire that we would have to put out. Can we do it twice? Maybe. But it's not going to be an easy kill. Not until you get those HVAPs, then it may change how this thing feels in actual performance in combat. Yeah, you burned out finally. So then we get over to the heavy tanks. Now this one's not necessarily the best example. Okay, so you can track, you can probably kill a barrel. Oh, I'm out of ammo. There's a problem. Okay, so I dropped artillery on this position. Let's go ahead and take this thing over and see if it floats. Oh, preferably before I kill myself. Speed is meh. You're not going to be moving around the battlefield in an agile fashion. That's going to be its main issue. This looks like it's a Panzer IV chassis. You may be better served in a Whirlwind because the Whirlwind's going to be actually better protected overall and yet still able to engage all the aerial targets. And it has the 4 machine guns on a Whirlwind. That said, 77 mils of pin on an HVAP is nothing to sneeze at. It could be quite effective. I generally like to get my pin up to about 90-something mils to reliably kill things, but in the meantime, let's find out. Will it float? Whoosh. And the answer is no, it will not float. Though you can absolutely have all your crew like swimming up there. Yeah, the funny thing about the Ostwind 2 is I'm pretty sure it's got less penetration than the Whirlwind. So let's take a look at that real fast, just as a comparison here. Ostwind 2, modifications. Best pin is 49 millimeters of pin. Still a good for taking out aircraft, but not so much for taking out tanks. Whereas the Whirlwind has a 48 mils of pin. So you are better in the... you're better off, let's see, actually there's 6 on one, half dozen on the other on the Whirlwind versus the Ostwind now, except for the sheer number of guns that you'd have. So they're even. When you get the HVAP, you'll get better penetration on the Zerstoller 45. At 6.0, it'll go well with a 6.0 lineup, which should be able to be built in this area. You also get the same penetration that a Kugelblitz gets at 7.0. So the Kugelblitz advantage, of course, is it's the fact that it's going to be impossible to strafe with smaller caliber weapons. This will not have that advantage. It's 1 BR lower. Take your pick. Do you like it? Let me know. Next vehicle up is over in Russia. We have a ZSU-23 M4, which is a new update of the ZSU-23. The difference is that they added, well, you can see it yourself. They added some missiles to it. The surface-to-air missiles 9M39. So this gives you a little bit more reach out and touch someone. At 9.3, that's going to be decently surprising compared to other options, especially since you have been having to jump all the way to the 10M2 to get missile SPA in this tree. So this will give Russia a missile SPA right between the two, and I suspect, my gut feel is that it's going to go up in BR. I think 9.3 is going to be too low for it. Number one reason being that the Strela 10M2 doesn't have any ground defense that I can recall. I don't know, can you fire those things at ground targets? I don't remember for sure. But either way, that's the difference between the ZSU-23-4 M4 and the ZSU-23-4, is the addition of 4 surface-to-air missiles. And they've added a T-80UD premium tank, which we've seen enough T-80s lately to know how they run. We've actually gotten some premium or event vehicles recently. I played the T-80 UK for some gaming content recently. They move along pretty good. In fact, let's go ahead and test drive this thing. Let's see, the different ammunition, 550 mils a pin on the Heat FS, 457 on the APF SDS, and of course you have an anti-tank guided missile, tube launched. The T-80 moves along forward pretty good. Let's switch over to the tube launched ATGM because we want to see how that performs. Now, if I remember, did they put this thing at 10.0 or something? You can fire the missile on the run, so you can literally be guiding it to your target as you drive. Handles the rough terrain really well. So, really, especially with the missile being able to be fired on the fly, you might find it's a good one to actually, you might find it's actually good to be in your barrel on a regular basis for your normal ammunition, because look at it ripping up these tanks on this course. Now, of course, you're always going to get a little bit better speed out of the regular cannon rounds, but if you're going to be taking shots on the fly and you're not sure you're always going to be having your aim exactly lined up, it seems like it's going to be a good option. Yeah, I'm liking the way it drives. Let's see how the reverse is. The reverse is exactly what you expect from a T-80, 4 kilometers per hour. But with no, like, raised engine deck or anything like that, you get your full turret rotation, which is mediocre. The turret rotation speed is a bit slow, which is probably why it's down at the 10.0 range. It's driving pretty well in the forward. Obviously, the reverse is going to be much slower. And of course, the most vital test of all, will it float? And the answer is no, it will not float. You know what, that makes me laugh every single time, and it shouldn't. It absolutely should not, but it does. Yeah, that was quite the noise, wasn't it? Should call it the Hoover. Whee! That's the tanks that Russia's picking up. That was at 10.0 premium. The modifications don't matter because you get them all unlocked when you buy it. It only has night vision devices, though, not thermals, which will be a difference, especially at 10.0 and above. So keep that in mind. Great Britain is getting something that sounds interesting. Let's see if I can find it here. Fox, there it is. Let's go and take this thing right out for a test drive. It's got a 30 millimeter gun. Let's just see what it does. Now this I know is unstabilized. Now it's definitely not a fast enough fire rate to be a traditional SPAA. You've got enough that you could potentially do it. Okay, not impressed so far. Okay, I've managed to disable this one. And caught him on fire. Okay, that would be enough to kill him. Not sure I'm feeling this one. The gun, I think, is going to be just too underpowered. Might be more useful as an AirSats SPA or SPA killer. Because the fire rate is decent. But I'm not penetrating much of anything. Yeah, the fire rate's too slow. Agility, though, is decent for a wheeled vehicle. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the road and open it up. $70 kilometers per hour, 75 kilometers per hour, 80. $90 kilometers per hour. Having to turn a little bit now, so 94, 95, 97, 99. Looks like it tops out at 99 kilometers per hour. Oh, are we going to be there in time to play Will It Float? Come on! Will it float? Bloosh! No, it will not float.
The gun is unconscious.
Yeah, at 7.0, I don't think this is gonna... It's poorly placed in the tree. Take it to 5.0, maybe 4.7, and it might be a lot of fun because you'd be likely to be up here in the M18 territory, and there's plenty of light tanks. But at 7.0, I mean, in this tree alone, you've got the Conway, the FV-4202, the Centurion. The Centurion Mark III is at 7.7. You might see things like the Charioteer. Let's look at USA real fast. You could see some Ontos, but you're mostly going to be seeing things like T-34s, T-26s. Even the M4 T-26 is going to end up there. You might be able to, like I said, you might see some M50s or M46s, but you're not going to be able to do much to an M46. Let's see if there's maybe an upgraded belt on that thing that might make it better. Modifications. Okay, the APDS, there we go. You're going to have to fight your way through to the APDS belt to get 110 mils a pin. So, when you first start playing this, you're going to be doing the cap-and game. You might even start with the APDS belt instead of improved parts or FPE, because you're not going to be survivable anyway. Having the parts much as you might like it. You're much better off to just chase to a cap point and do your repairs there. And take the APDS first, then go for your improved parts and FPE. That's my advice. I suspect with the 110 mils of pin, it might hold 7.0 all right. But 53 mils of pin, no. It's not flying. It's not doing anything worthwhile there. So that's the Fox. What else have we got? The Type 90B Fuji pack. So we've got a premium Type 90B. We're already familiar with the Type 90, so we don't really need to do much of anything with it. Armor, standard looking for a Type 90. Let's see, get that off here. Modifications. It does have only the JM33. It does have the JM33. That should do just fine. Let's compare it to, this is 11.0. Let's compare it to the Type 90B here. That's basically identical, just a premium version you can buy and drive. So the pack, I don't see the price on the pack here, but 20 backups and 2,400 Golden Eagles. It's probably going to be in the $60 range. I can't see paying for it. Unless you're just so desperate to have your giant Japan tree move up this high. That's it. China gets the ZBD-04A. Now this has got a 100 millimeter main gun, a 30 millimeter secondary, and a 5.8 millimeter machine gun. Not bad. 9.3 battle rating. You know what? I've been really annoyed by pretty much all of these high fire rate vehicles. Reload rate of 1.3 seconds. I wish I could test drive this right now just to see what we're in for here. Let's go to the modifications. The default belt's got an 85 millimeter pin of APDS. Of course, you can get all APDS or an APDS FS with 102 millimeters of pin. At 9.3, you'll be able to chew through the enemy armor pretty fast. That's on the 30 millimeter gun too. So you're not even into the 100 millimeter gun, which gives you access to this ATGM with 750 millimeters of pin. It's basically an ATGM launcher, and you can use high explosive if you want, though why would you? Unless you're chewing up a light tank, but in that case, you can chew them up with the 30 millimeter gun. This is going to be a monster. There's no question in my mind. It's going to be a monster. Let's see, top speed here. 70 kilometers per hour, 24 tons, 494 horsepower. It'll move along at a pretty decent clip. So that's my thoughts on the ZBD-04A. Get ready to have your 9 whatever tanks chewed up. It's going to be just like the Russian equivalent of this thing. What is that thing? Gotta find it now. One that annoys me. So 2S25. It's going to be basically equivalent to a 2S25, which has a 125 millimeter gun that just chews things up. So this one's only got, no, this is the 2S38. Where's the 2S38? There it is. This is the one that annoys me. The 57 millimeter cannon that just, they high fire rate you to death. Those things frustrate me so much. All right, so let's move on to Italy's Centauro RGO. This is also a pack vehicle. And let's see, I remember there being, it's basically a Centauro 120 with slightly more armor on the turret. There we go. Let's go ahead and test drive this thing real fast. You got the 589 millimeter pin of the APFSDS. DM33 as well at 481, and of course a heat FS shell, and an 11.3 BR.
In battaglia!
let's see. It is stabilized.
Caritatore pronto.
So that's pretty decent. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and switch to the APF SDS. Burst through that water pretty effectively. Shots on the run are pretty easy to pull off.
Sabot attaccato.
Killing vehicles as I go.
Sabot caricato.
Agility feels good. Definitely does a little bit of a power slide there if you give it a little too much turn. Turret rotation is a touch slow. In fact, I'd say that's its main downside is the turret rotation. It's not as responsive as it really could be. But on the other hand, it's got a great stabilizer that is very effective. So the biggest problem is going to be turning around. You get that taken care of and you're back in action in a heartbeat. Reload rate's about right. Main thing is going to be if you can get up against one-on-one with somebody and you can use your speed to your advantage, odds are you can do a crippling shot with your first shot and kill them with your second. And with your second one, if you've crippled them, you can certainly take your time on the follow-up shot. Woohoo! Oh! Apparently I didn't jump it quite as neatly as I thought I was going to. Alright, so, important piece of detail here. Will it float? And the answer is no, it will not float.
Carista prima di sensi.
It's not particularly unique compared to the Centauro 120. The extra armor might help a little bit against some of the lighter, smaller calibers that you might face. But the end result is still that you've got, well, not much going. You're still a 120 with a light chassis that will be pretty easy to chew up. The smaller caliber stuff will be your biggest nemesis. You'll actually probably tank any of the APFS DS rounds that you come across better than some other options. Ooh, water. Lovely. Because there is a lot of open space in this. So that is the Centauro RGO. That was actually for the Royal Guard of Oman. They bought 9 of the things and were absolutely ecstatic with them. Loved them. France is getting a VTT DCA, which is at rank 2, which makes it virtually not quite worthless, but certainly usefulness challenged. Let's go ahead and test drive this thing. And while we're doing that, we can take a look at this 31 mils a pin. We'll see if it has a better belt in just a moment. But 31 mils a pin is not going to get you much. Even at 3.0, you might be able to kill like M5s. Let's see if I can get through even this first tank here. It's an M16 turret on a treaded chassis. I believe it was actually called the M45. So some really light tanks you might be able to take out with the 50 cals. And you know, hey, it'll be really good at the SPA roll. But again, it's rank 2. You're not going to be playing it much if you're doing most of the normal fixes war numbers. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That is a Panzer IV. It was able to take out. I think it's better than the M16 because it's going to be in a somewhat armored chassis. And by somewhat, I do mean somewhat, as in not much. Overall, it's a great SPAA. And you can take out some light tanks with it. At 3.0, not bad. Not bad at all. But of course, it will not float. Oh, that thing went right in. Whee! Whoosh!
Chercheur inconscient.
Let's see if it's got a better belt than that one. I don't imagine it does, but we'll check. 29 mils, 31 mils, 30 mils, and of course 31. So, yeah, you're right in that same range. That's the VTT DCA. Be a lot of fun. It'd be better if it was rank 3. Then it could go into a nice, really awesome lineup with some rank 3 French of the RL44 ACL1, the M4A4, which is a blast to drive, I might add, despite it being just another Sherman. And that would give you 2 tanks and then this one SPAA. And then you could bust some aviation in there with it, the MB157 and the SB2C, to have a nice sub 4.0 rank 3 lineup, which is exactly where I think they need to be looking, as at least for every nation should have one possible reasonable lineup with at least 2 tanks and an SPAA 4.0 or below. That's it for France. Let's go to Sweden. And this one is going to be just a familiar. This is the Christian 2. It's a pack, Stridsvagn 121 that's been upgraded to the Stridsvagn 122 electronics standard. Otherwise, it's pretty much standard. 120 millimeter cannon. You can take it for a test drive, but we're not going to see anything unusual. It does get up to the DM23 at 10.3, so that'll be decent. It's otherwise exactly what you'd expect. Yep, just fine. It'll be very good at 10.3. The question is, do you want to spend the 60 or so bucks to buy it for 10.3? That's entirely your decision. By the way, feel free to ask questions as we're going. I am paying attention. Okay, have they started adding the rollers wandering around like that? Because that's pretty fun. Yeah, nothing here that this thing will even have a challenge taking out on this test course. Despite the fact that we already know the answer to this question, we do have that final question that has to be answered anyway. Will it float? Let's get over there and find out. So about a 68 kilometer per hour top speed on average terrain. Definitely did not go over that well. And there it is. It will not float. All right, so let's go ahead and return the hangar there. You know, I would love to see some things like the old 666, which is the B-17 that was up-gunned to do a, not specifically to do this one reconnaissance run, but was up-gunned so it could do those types of things. I'd love to see something like that with more guns attached. And that is more than just a skin. You'd have to actually model in the additional guns, including the one that was available for the pilot to use directly. He actually had a trigger he could shoot, line it up with the plane, and shoot with it. So that would be a lot of fun. That is something I would love to see. As pretty much everything else is, everything I know of has been added. I'd have to do some research on like other vehicles. But overall, more of the World War II and Korean era vehicles would be awesome to have. I would love to see them. I'd also like to see the, I think it was called the Goblin. It was one of the early vertical takeoff deals, where it was, and then that could take off vertically, or there was a version that could actually be dropped from an airplane and brought back into it. I think they used a B-29 as the test plane for it. So that'd be another one that'd be fun to see. Total worthless as far as gameplay goes, but hilarious to see. There's so many weird and wonderful prototype things, as the European Canadian likes to say, that could be added, that as long as they were in metal, I'd be excited to see. Shoot, I would love to see the flying flapjack. But yeah, we could see, there's a lot of things we could see added. Most of the things that could be added, though, didn't really see much frontline service. And that's kind of the real problem, is that if it didn't see a lot of frontline service, then you have to have somebody who's really looking for it. That's kind of the challenge. Yeah, those would be great to add, Al, absolutely. Israel is getting another Merkava pack. It's actually the ROM. Mark III ROM Segol. See, we've got 3 kinds of ammunition. A tied fuse, that's always fun. And an APF SDS. Let's take it in. Do a test drive. Handling, it's about average for this type, BR, this type of tank. Feels like it gets up to speed decently, though not necessarily fast. Yeah, yep, feels good. Oh! Keep an eye out for that. Its turn and place performance is questionable, especially after you come off of a sharp turn. So that might be a little hitch in your get along if you do mess with it. Otherwise, stabilized, fires well, does a good job. And of course, will it float? Oh, am I going to make it through? I might make it through. I made it through. It doesn't float, but it sure managed to make it through the water to the far side. Pretty impressive. Of course, it's never good enough. You've got to make sure it dies. Oh, come on. There we go. So, there we go. I don't know what's up with these transmissions. They sound awful. It's like you gotta threw a whole bunch of marbles into a colander, like shaking it around. Awful, awful, awful. Then we're getting into the naval stuff, and we'll just kind of burn through this pretty darn quick because the number of people who are excited about naval tends to be relatively low. Let's see. We got a new premium on the British fleet here, the HMS Diamond. And we'll just go ahead and preview that real fast. Some six of the 4.5-inch guns. That should really wreck some stuff at 4.7. Looks like a decent destroyer. I mean, pretty good. 4.7 BR, a good broadside to it. Overall, it's decently fast. It's a destroyer. It's got all the stuff that you'd expect for a destroyer at 4.7. That should do a good job for you. Japan is getting a tech tree IJN Mutsu, which is a battleship with 8 410mm Type 3 guns. This thing will also do some serious wrecking as it goes around. 42 kilometers per hour, not fast. And a ship this heavy will not be that agile either. So that is the new battleship for Japan. Let's take a look at its armor here. Reasonable armor, but not, again, at the point-blank ranges we tend to fire. If it goes against another battleship, it'll be just as vulnerable as anything else. So, there you go, the IJN Mutsu. Italy is getting the Aran Bolzano. Does this fall into the cruiser area? It might. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's a heavy cruiser with a main battery of 8 203mm guns and a lot of... actually, are those torpedo tubes? Yes, those are torpedo tubes sticking out the sides. So that'll be fun for heavy cruiser captains. So good broadside. Probably no armor to speak of for this class. At 5.3, it'll get chewed up pretty easily by the heavier units. That said, it can also do some chewing as well. And France is getting 2, I believe these are the Kleber, which is a destroyer, which I just managed to say with a German accent. At 4.0, 4 12.8 centimeter guns. That should be pretty decent at 4.0. The Bofors will probably be even more useful against smaller boats. And you've, of course, got torpedo tubes. So overall, a pretty decent ship with a 60 kilometer per hour top speed. And the Breton, which is a battleship with 10 340mm guns. That will be quite the powerful broadside. Even though the guns are a little bit smaller than the other battleships in this range, having 10 of them go in one direction will be quite effective. The overall, the secondaries, you get 18 of the 138.6mm guns, 9 on each side in these casemates. So you can definitely cause some damage, but you're more likely to, this powerful broadside is going to be its real claim to fame. 34 kilometers per hour, you're not getting across the battlefield in any kind of hurry. Let's see. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, I can't do anything about demonstrating the new locations because, allow me to demonstrate. Oh, air realistic will let me do it, but ground realistic won't. Yeah, ground realistic is demanding anti-cheat, and there's no option to enable an anti-cheat. I'm running on Linux, so that could be the problem there. I've already submitted a bug report for it. There are the North Holland location has its dev blog out there, and there is... Does it have its dev blog out there? I don't think it does. They demonstrated it on the live stream, though, so you might take a look at that. They do have 2 new air realistic battle missions, Golan Heights and Kamchatka East. Let's just go ahead and jump into an airplane real fast and see if we can demonstrate, see if we catch one of those. And while we're waiting to see if we get a match here, here's some other updates on the mission updates. Frozen Pass, the snow textures were too dirty. They fixed that. Gaps have been closed and the spawn points on the Hurtgen Forest location have been protected. The aircraft part of the Karelia location has been expanded, finally. A stage airfield has been added to air-realistic battle missions based on the enduring confrontation logic. It is located closer to the front line and cannot be spawned at. However, it can be used to arm and repair. So that'll be a nice change if you want to be able to do more of the front, land closer to the front lines, get back into the battle fast. But understand that these usually have no AA, so land there at your own risk. The physics of fallen trees has been improved. Now they roll less after falling, and the crown of the tree now lays the ground, taking up less space on the screen. Finally. And this is Golan Heights. So this is the aerial spawn, but you're going to spawn along the front line, it says. Okay, that's not what happened. So I don't know what that means, but it is with an air spawn. Otherwise, nothing particularly interesting to say except for you get an air spawn. So, voila, that is the situation on the Golan Heights map. I want to check out the physics of these fallen trees. I might go into a custom match and see what I can see. Several changes to the low cloud weather preset. The amount of clouds has been increased and their starting altitude has been lowered to make it more difficult for aircraft to attack from high altitudes, while reducing haze to make it easier to spot targets at low altitudes. So when you're at a low altitude, you get less haze, making it easier to see the ground targets. But when you're at a higher altitude, there's more clouds that prevent you from being able to actually see and engage from altitude. This is an interesting change. Let's see, it doesn't say what type of maps it applies to. But if it applies to ground RBs, tankers will be delighted because they get really sick and tired of getting popped from 10,000 feet and being unable to respond, even with appropriate SPAAs. That's one of the downsides to guided ordnance and the weird tiering they've put SPAA at. The size of destruction effects have been adjusted relative to the size of the objects being destroyed. Don't know what that means. The airfield positioning mechanic has been improved, affecting all types of missions, air, ground, etc. There should now be far fewer situations where the airfield is located on a prominent hill. Yay! However, if such airfields are still found, please create a bug report indicating their position. One of the frustrating things I always found was that I might have just enough juice in my engine to limp back to an airfield, but at the last possible second I realize it's 1,000 feet above the actual combat area in the battlefield. And so I'm down at like 100 feet and I can't do anything about it. Okay, so we got all bots. It's just me and two of us on this team and a bunch of bots. Okay. All right, I don't know what just... Oh, those are the attackers. Okay. So that's the overall changes so far. Let's get these off. Roll back in. So yeah, the lack of prominent, the airfields being put on prominent hills is a huge change for me. The AIM-9Js do all aspect. Not the sun.
Victory here.
Oh, you got that one as well. Apparently, I'm not fighting the enemy. I'm fighting my teammate. Right. Yes, I know the sun is big and bright, and you so want to lock onto it. Knock it off. Let me get a missile off before this guy does. Dang it! This is an F4 Phantom. Alright, come on, come on, come on. I will be nowhere near. Yeah. I spent all my time turning and not enough my time killing. There. You eat this. You. You eat that. So, yeah. Take that assist just because. Better than nothing. So that's the difference on this map, is it's just got you an air spawn. Nothing really exciting. Alright, they do talk about some ground vehicle model and damage model characteristics and weaponry changes. The Type 94 had the change to the location and number of fuel tanks. The 3-inch gun carrier had the side and rear armor of the casemate adjusted. ZT-3A2, the amount of missile ammunition has been increased from 12 to 15. A fire indicator for external fuel tanks and ammunition storage with blowout panels has been added. Now the player will know how much time is left before the fire extinguishes, which cannot be extinguished with FPE. I'm almost out of fuel. All that goofing around and I'm going to run out of gas. Not that I care. This is just a mess around situation here. To save gas, though, I am going to ditch my ordnance. And I know it makes no difference, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ditch all my flares. "30 seconds. There's the airfield. I might make it. The burning time of external fuel tanks and ammunition stowage in blowout panels has been reduced. The ability to extinguish a fire in internal modules when external fuel tanks and ammunition storage and blowout panels were on fire has been fixed. Good. The ability to replenish partially spent belts, magazines, and launchers for multiple missiles on capture points has been added. Nice. A pause of reload progress when moving through a capture point has been added. Very nice. I have 2 seconds of fuel, and I gotta stick this landing the first time, and I'm already way over energy to land. They've added some drop limits to the GBU line of bombs. Alright, you big old fat monster. There goes the engines. Okay, perfect.
Keep it up, and victory will be ours.
You can only drop those bombs at a limit of 1.01 Mach. Let's see, any of these that are really going to make a difference to you here. Fab 500s have been added to the BB1 and SU2. And that's kind of the long story short of the patch. Not that much in it this time. So with that all being said, let me know what you think of the patch in the comments below. You know, we'll be closing the stream in just a moment here. So let me know. And if you found it like there was enough there to make it an exciting patch for you, also let me know, because it seems a little bit, not a lot of excitement for me on this one. And on that note, I've got administrative stuff to do. Let's go ahead and just shut things down for the stream here. Yes, indeed, I just managed to hit that. Let's go ahead and flip over here. Let's go ahead and shut down the stream. Thank you for joining me. I always appreciate you being here. If you found this well, I wouldn't call it a high speed because it's been almost, what, 2 hours stream time on the server. Give me that old thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. Otherwise, thanks again for being here. I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.